Quick and funny one for you today. So, I had this thought, and I thought it was rather comical, and that it would be worth making into a video at least, maybe making even another video more in depth as I kind of study the topic and think about it a little bit more deeply. But real quick, modern monetary theory. So stupid that they don't need court intellectuals anymore. That's the idea. You might wonder, for instance, why someone like Paul Krugman is not on board with MMT. After all, the most visible proponents of MMT promote the same kind of unlimited spending that Krugman has spent most of his life encouraging the government to do. Well, we have to understand Krugman's position in a little bit more nuanced detail in order to get why he opposes MMT. Because what we need to understand what MMT is actually doing. It's making a pro-spending position possible without a PhD in economics. To think back to kind of medieval times, medieval kings needed jesters, and they gave those jesters some immunity to persecution for what they said, because they had bound themselves into kind of a humorless state, where you couldn't criticize someone above you in the hierarchy without risking significant, danger to your own position. People weren't able to be self-deprecating, so they needed someone like the jester to give obvious criticism a voice, to tell the king, everybody thinks you're doing something stupid, and I can say this, but no one else can without you possibly deciding to chop off their heads. The post-Keynesians, like Krugman, served a similar purpose. They were court intellectuals. It's a pure fact that most elected officials are way too stupid, way too ignorant to understand simple logical arguments, let alone differential equations. The post-Keynesians, they gave officials a court intellectual, someone who would tell them that they could do what they wanted, and someone with dignity, with a suit and maybe a tie, or maybe even a bow tie in certain cases. Someone who had some credentials in economics, and they could come up with a roundabout way to say, hey, government, you can totally do this thing that you want. You can spend as much money as you want, and it's only going to help. Don't worry, I'm a post-Keynesian. And the thing about MMT is that it has these two wings. It has the Mott and the Bailey. I wrote an article about this that ended up in Mises. I'll put a link in the description. But basically, what the Mott and Bailey strategy is that you have, and I always get these confused, right? But one of them is well defended. One of them is, you have a poorly defended, but somewhat defended area around or to the side of one area that's very well defended. And what that does is it encourages attackers to choose the less well defended area for their attacks, which allows you to understand what move they're going to make so that you can counter it more easily, right? MMT is a lot like this. There's a decent number of MMT practitioners who are like, well, yes, the government can print money. That's all we really mean. We're not saying that it's good for them to print money, but we're saying that if they do print money, that they can do it. And, that's going to have, all kinds of repercussions depending on what they do and how fast they do it and all that kind of stuff. Those people are the well-defended part of the Mott and Bailey. Then we have the people who know absolutely nothing about anything and take MMT to simply mean, number one, all spending is good, spend as much as you want, spend. And number two, every argument that I have is simply an accounting identity that I pretend solves all problems, which makes me completely impervious to any sort of rational argument. And so that's what MMT, and the thing is that the Mott and the Bailey, the well-defended part and the poorly defended part, can be completely separate in this case. Those well-dressed, dignified economists that used to tell the government that they can do what they want, they don't need them anymore. Because any idiot in government can simply say, MMT, we can print all we want. We can produce, we can choose to go into production of whatever we want. And that's what MMT says, and MMT is a thing. And what that does is it leaves people like the post-Keynesians, like Krugman, out in the dark, because we don't need no education anymore. We don't need no dignified economists. MMT The part of MMT that we care about is so simple that any idiot can and will often say these conclusions. And you can't argue against us because everything that we say is simply an accounting identity. So that's my thought. That's the quick version. I'm probably going to write this into an article and maybe publish it somewhere because I think it's kind of funny and kind of fun, and also points at why Krugman doesn't like MMT and why government does. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Maybe some more on this soon. But that was just a thought that I had, and I wrote a couple of little notes down about it, and I'm going to try to get deeper into it later. Anyway, thanks a bunch, and I'll see you all next time.